Thank you very much for being with us tonight. I am Helen Hutchison of the League of Women Voters of Oakland. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We have 4 of the 5 candidates for the District 2 City Council seat here with us tonight. They are Abel Guillen, I got it wrong, I'm sorry, Dana King, Andrew Park, and Kevin Blackburn. Kevin Maxey, who is also a candidate, could not be with us tonight. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes for an opening statement. The order of the opening statements was chosen by drawing lots. Audience questions will be screened to avoid duplication and personal attacks. The order of answering questions will be rotated, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. There will be no rebuttals. Following the questions, each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for a closing statement. The timekeepers will signal the candidates with colored signs marked 30 seconds and stop. Please note that as we progress through the questions, the candidates may choose to use some or all of their 1 minute to answer the question put to him or her, or to offer a rebuttal to the answer given to a previous question. This is the candidate's prerogative. You, the audience, can make your own decision about whether the candidate has made the best use of the answer time given. So let's begin with the opening statements. Mr. Guillen, you're first. Yes, you do. So, and then speak into the mic, please.
Sure. My name is Abel Guillen, and I'm currently the president of the Peralta Community College District Board of Trustees. I've served as a trustee for the last 8 years, and I think I'm uniquely qualified to take on the task of leading District 2 and representing the district on the City Council. I'm the first in my family to graduate from college, and I wanted to make sure I gave back to my community, and so I've worked the last 8 years trying to make sure that other folks have the same opportunities that I've had. I graduated from UC Berkeley with a master's degree in public policy, and I'm a financial advisor by training. The last 8 years, I've worked really hard to make sure that we reaffirmed our accreditation at the Peralta colleges, and actually the League of Women Voters noted that, so thank you very much for noticing that and the work that we've done to strengthen the financial controls of the district. I'm running because I want to make sure we have a safer community, make sure that we restore confidence in City Hall, and make sure we strengthen our partnership with our local schools. I think that's why City Council President Pat Kernahan, Assemblymember Rob Bonta, Senator Lonnie Hancock, as well as Assemblymember Nancy Skinner, and former Assemblymember Sandre Swanson have all endorsed my campaign, and they joined a growing coalition of residents that want to make sure that Oakland gets on the right track. Thank you very much.
Ms. King.
Thank you very much. My name is Dana King. I'm running for City Council District 2. I live at East 12th and 13th Avenue, and my neighbors are on a block are like the United Nations. I have neighbors from Cuba and Vietnam and Mexico and China, African American neighbors and white neighbors, and many of my neighbors have lived there for 25, 30 years as renters. And the issues that the city faces are not an abstract to us. Every day we go out our front door, we see prostitution. We see quality of life crimes like the graffiti that is plastered all over our neighborhood, the dumping, the disrespect of people bringing their garbage and throwing it on our front yards, and the blighted buildings. I've worked as a journalist for 25 years, and the skills that I bring to this job are an ability to take complex issues and drill down into the truth of them, communicate them, to do my homework, to do deep research, to bring stakeholders to the table, and to help people find that sense of commonality where there might be originally disagreement, but there is always an intersection where we can find something where we can agree and build on. I believe that this city needs to do what it says it's going to do, and to do it in a timely fashion. Oakland is a wonderful city. We know that. our neighbors need to know that as well, and that's why I'm running, and that's why I'd like your support.
Mr. Park.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here and those that will be watching this tonight as well as in the next few days and weeks. My name is Andrew Park, and I am a City Council candidate for District 2. I hope that most of the questions that come tonight have to do with what direction we're going as a city. What is our vision for our city? We have a great city. We have a diverse city. We also have a deeply divided city. We want to make our city safe. But what are we making it safe for? Who are we making it safe for? We want thriving business districts so that we can increase our tax base, so that we can improve our roads, so that we can have healthy neighborhoods. What are we doing all this for? I say we need to be doing this for opportunities for those that have not participated in the process, where the city has not worked for them, where the problems of Oakland are coming from. We have the bottom 12% in Oakland, 45,000 people who are living in low-income housing, who are consistently not being given the opportunities open to them. And that is what I have to offer you in my candidacy, as someone who truly understands the city with 35 years of deep Oakland experience. I immigrated here, grew up in Chinatown, then over to East Oakland near Fremont High School, attended Skyline High School, which is a very diverse school. I work at UC Berkeley, so I understand bureaucracy, how to manage a budget, do long-range planning, as well as myself. I was raised in Oakland Public Schools, and I send my kids to public schools too as well. Thank you.
Mr. Blackburn.
Thank you very much, and again, thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Kevin Blackburn. I'm running for Oakland City Council District 2. And I'll start just by saying that I have a deep and abiding love for the city of Oakland. I'm a fourth-generation Oaklander. I went to Crocker Highlands and Lakeview and McChesney junior high schools, and I'm glad to have not only family and friends here tonight, but also in the audience. And I feel like with what we've been through in Oakland over the last several years, that we're all one big family, dysfunctional at times, but a family nonetheless drawn together by the love that we have for the city of Oakland. Growing up in Oakland, I had to make some tough choices along the way, as anybody who grows up in this city will have to do. And I was fortunate that I had family to help guide me to make the right choices along the way. And that's really why I'm running for city council, because I know that as Oakland gets better, it can get better for everyone, but we have to be very intentional about how we guide the city. We need clear public policy priorities so that as the city grows, we're mindful of all segments. And District 2 is the most diverse district in the city of Oakland. Public safety is certainly the #1 priority, but San Antonio should be as safe as Crocker Highlands. So I'm running to leverage my business and professional experience, my coaching experience, my community service experience, my nonprofit experience to help Oakland become better for everyone. Thank you.
So now it's time for the candidates to answer your questions. And the first question will go first to Ms. King, and then we'll go in the reverse order. Excuse me, going around. It's a two-part question here. On which council committees would you request to serve and why? And are there any decisions from which you would have to recuse yourself?
Great question. I would like to be on the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee determines what is decided by the council, what goes before the council for conversation, discussion, and voting. I would also like to be on the Public Safety Commission. The city, while we know it's getting better, the rest of the communities around it are worried that if they come here, they're not safe, and so they don't come here. So we need to increase our police department and the quality of the officers that we have. The second part of the question is, would I have to recuse myself? I can't imagine an instance that I would, but if something came before me, I certainly would stand aside and not get in the way of the process. Thank you.
Mr. Gwynn.
I think the committees that I'd like to serve on are two. One is the Finance Committee, and the second one would be the Rules Committee. I think the Finance Committee is important. It suits my skill set well because for the last 15 years, I've served as a municipal finance advisor, working with school districts and community colleges, dealing with debt, trying to figure out how to refinance existing debt structure. And I think the skill set that I bring would be valuable to the City Council right off the bat. Try to figure out ways of how to save money and restructure our existing obligations. The second committee would be Rules Committee. I think that the way the City Council conducts itself is an important thing, is an important standard that we ought to all be concerned about to make sure that we govern ourselves in the right manner.
Mr. Blackburn.
I would like to serve on the Economic Development Committee and Public Safety, and the two greatest issues facing our city right now, number one, public safety. That is a challenge for not only residents, but for companies that are considering coming to Oakland to locate. And so helping to address, we've made some progress. We still have work to do. Our police force needs to more accurately reflect the diversity of our community, and also have more officers from Oakland. And then secondly, economic development. We have a lot of financial challenges facing our city right now, and those challenges can only be addressed if we're able to grow our tax base successfully. And I think we need to establish policies that will allow businesses to come in, allow development to take place in a sustainable manner that increases our revenue and our tax base and allows us to pay for the services that we need. Public safety, filling potholes, street repair, and programs for youth.
Mr. Park.
I would like to serve on the Public Safety Committee. Police officers, public safety, is, in particular OPD, is the number one line item in our budget, over 50% of our general fund. And as we're spending that money in the city, too many of our regular citizens and residents don't see the police working for them. And it's not just people below 580 in the flatlands, but it's also people in the hills. Police are getting it from all sides. What I would do when I'm on that committee is to set up expectations, a rubric. We don't want to micromanage you, but you being hired, command staff, et cetera, we want to set a rubric for you to work within and then have clearly defined expectations. Former city manager told me that when he had his tenure here for a term, 4 years, that they had fired 12 police officers. All but 2 were brought back in an arbitration. And if we can't get on top of bad police officers within our city, it's really difficult to build trust with the community.
Thank you all. Moving on to the next question. This one will go to Mr. Park first, and then to Ms. King, and then we're going to jump back to Mr. Blackburn. So, as I said, we're going to jump around a little bit. So the question is, improving public safety is a big issue with most Oaklanders. What will you do to address public fears?
Thank you for the question. I think that this question is tailor-made for me because this is what I do every single day in our community. I live in the Bella Vista Highland Hospital area. It is a very diverse area with lots of immigrants, every single type of person under the sun. There are fears of the police, fears of different culture, fears of youth, young adults, and what I'm doing on a consistent basis is to bring the police and the community together. We just held an OPD basketball tournament where we had 4 East Oakland teams plus OPD, and we spent all day together just building trust with each other. We had an OPD appreciation barbecue, really to make it so that the community appreciates the police, but at the same time, we have it so that through community policing, the police are working for the community. We've built such a strong neighborhood crime prevention council, which we're meeting tonight. I can't wait to get there because I have some information to share, but as we're sharing that information, neighbors are getting to know each other, fences and walls are being broken down. That's how we start to feel safer.
Ms. King.
Thank you. Everyone in the city deserves a right to feel safe in their homes, where they work, where they play, and where they pray. The city is understaffed in the police department. The national minimum standard for policing is 2 officers per 1,000 residents. That would put us at 800 at the very minimum. The chief believes that we should have 900 officers. Where's that money going to come from? We spent $30 million last year on overtime for our police department. Our police department has mandatory overtime for every single officer. So we clearly have spent money, maybe unwisely. We need to look at how many academies we have every year and and work toward building the police department. We should have 725 to 35 officers by spring of next year, according to the police chief. We need officers who are sensitive to the communities in which they serve. And in order to build a mutual respect with the community, we have to have a force that is totally invested in constitutional policing as well as community policing. Thank you.
Mr. Blackburn.
I think, first of all, to improve public safety, as has been mentioned, we have to build a better trust within the community for the police department. But I think that begins with a better job of hiring, particularly hiring people from Oakland who want to serve the city of Oakland. There also needs to be cultural change at the police department, and we've seen some results of cultural change and training that have occurred that have reduced a lot of the aggressive responses to crime in the city. And then finally, I would say that we need to authorize civilian personnel to respond to non-emergency situations so we can get police officers that are at desk jobs out of the police department on Broadway and out into the community so they can work. I think that, again, will have a significant impact on the current budget that we have and reduce the overtime that we're currently paying.
Thank you. Mr. Green.
Public safety is number one concern. I hear it all the time, and particularly in some parts of the district. People don't feel that you call 911 and there's a response. We need to change that. We need to change that by increasing the number of police officers, and secondly, rebuilding the trust in the community. One of the things I've been working on, even before I decided to run for the Peralta College, is actually creating a partnership with the Oakland Police Academy through our Administration of Justice program at Merritt College, so that we can funnel more of our local residents into the police academy. A lot of our folks that want to go into the police academy don't know, for example, that you need to have a good credit score. We prep them for exams, and this is the first year that we're doing that. There's 10 cadets going through, and we hope that we increase those numbers. I think that'll go a long way in terms of restoring confidence with the community.
Thank you all very much. This next question will go first to Mr. Blackburn, and then to Ms. King. Then we'll do Mr. Nguyen and Mr. Park. Can you talk about Measure N, the Oakland Schools parcel tax, and also include whether you support it or not? So, Mr. Blackburn.
I unfortunately cannot talk about Measure N in any degree of detail. I am frankly very supportive of anything that we can do in the city of Oakland to improve our schools and to provide them with the funding they need. We spend about $8,000 to $9,000 a year per student, and the average on the East Coast per student is $16,000 to $17,000 a year. So our funding is way below the norm, approximately 50%. We need to find a way to support that. So the particulars of Measure N, I'm sorry I can't speak to at this point, but I am supportive of increasing funding for Oakland Public Schools.
Okay. Ms. King.
Thank you. The $120 parcel tax is necessary. It's something that was decided upon last year. We now have a brand new superintendent, and he is supportive of this parcel tax as well. And I think that in terms of what the council can do to support the schools is to provide support for the staffing, for teachers, for administration, and to build a relationship with the city and the schools. Measure N will provide what I think are really the basics of what the students should have. They should have college counseling, that they should have access to how to navigate the school district in terms of getting the A to G learning that they deserve to have, basics, math, science, and English. So it seems that there are so many programs within the school district. Thank you.
And then I said Mr. Nguyen. Yes.
I'm Mr. Guillen,
Guillen.
and
I'll get it.
I actually endorsed Measure N early on because I think it's the right thing for our kids and our youth. At the Peralta colleges, we actually just landed a $15 million grant for career pathways. And Measure N, I think, will complement the work that we're trying to do. We have a $50 million grant for 3 years, partnering with all the local high school districts. And what Measure N sets out to do is really provide our students here the opportunity to learn skills in manufacturing, in healthcare, in biosciences. These are the high-demand fields. Look, not everyone is going to go to a four-year college. We know that. But every student should have that opportunity for post-second education training. And that's what we do, and I think that's what Measure N will provide for our community.
I support Measure N because that is a place where Oaklanders can get into the battleground to really have some long-term wins for our city, where we can support youth and young adults. There's a thing called linked learning that Measure N is based on, that as high schoolers have been, we've been tracking them for the past 30 years to go to college. Well, not everyone is destined to go to college. There are people that are going through and have experienced all types of struggle in our city, and they need different types of opportunities. For instance, at Met West, we took on an intern at UC Berkeley, and his counselor was just astonished when he said, this guy has never really turned on to anything in his life, but he's going to your internship regularly. He sent in his resume. He also put a cover letter on that too as well. And this past summer, unfortunately, as it happens with hard cases, hard to employ, who are not college bound, he stopped coming. When we followed up on him, we found out that he had lost his brother this summer, got shot in Alameda, not Oakland, in Alameda. And, it just was a terrible thing, but we wrapped services around that, and this is what Measure N would do, would support students who are in that type of situation.
Thank you all. The next question will go first to Mr. Guillen, then to Mr. Park, and then we'll do Ms. King and Mr. Blackburn. So describe your plans for economic development in Oakland.
I think the first economic development strategy is we need to have safer communities. That's number one. And we do that by rebuilding trust with the community. Number two, in terms of economic development, I would take a cue from our neighboring city, San Leandro. They have this thing called Lid San Leandro, which actually lays down high-speed fiber optics and conduit, an existing conduit, and they partner with OSI Soft. And that's reaping benefits in that now a lot of high-tech companies are actually coming to San Leandro in a way that wasn't experienced before. So those are the kinds of partnerships that we need to form. We need to do some outside-of-the-box thinking. I would also look at pursuing infrastructure revenue bonds. In light of redevelopment being gone, we need to figure out other tools that we can use to attract capital and housing for our city.
Mr. Park?
Yes, there's a symbiotic relationship between public safety and economic development. It's difficult to build and open up a business in Oakland if you don't know there's going to be a next robbery spree, or all your copper's going to get stolen, so you can't operate the new expensive lights that you put in front of your restaurant. So we definitely, that'd be part of my plan, is to really focus on public safety. But I would also focus on what's already happening, the boom. It's real estate in Oakland. We have a lot of open land. It's relatively cheap compared to other cities. We have access to transportation, the port. We have a workforce that's readily available. So what I would do is that as development is coming in, I would be a bridge builder between those developers that want to build in Oakland, but also are looking to invest into the community, because we have a whole community here that needs to be valued too as well. I'm somebody that's not just going to value what's coming in, but also value what's here. So to really be a bridge builder and go for win-win situations where there's a developer as well as community benefits that need to be had in a particular situation.
Business development counts on three things: the education of the community, the safety of the community that they're looking at, and also the quality of the local government. If there's instability in the local government, they're less likely to bring their businesses here. If the communities are not safe, they're less likely to want their employees to live here. If the educational system is of poor quality, they're less likely to encourage their families to live here and grow and invest in the community. So those are three things that we need to work on. I'd like to see a process here at City Hall that streamlines the development, and by that I'll give you a narrative. I was talking to a developer who's working on a $1.5 billion project. He's been here for 16 years investing in the community. He's had more difficulty moving this $1.5 billion project than he has anything in the last 16 years. I would like to see City Hall opened and accessible for developers to the point where if it has to be a concierge service where we take them by the hand and help them get sign-off, then that's what we do to welcome business. Thank you.
There are three things that I would do to improve economic development here in the city. The first is to address housing. In 2014, we had 92 market rate units come on to the market in the entire year. So the first thing we have to do is how do we address that? The housing multiplier, the economic multiplier for housing dollars is 15 to 1. For every dollar that's spent, it multiplies itself 15 times in local funding and taxes that are raised as a result of that. Second thing is improving the permitting process. And let me go back. I'll mention that we have capacity. We have 10,000 units coming online in the next 5 years, but we have capacity in Oakland without any infrastructure improvement to add another 40,000 units of housing, and that would really help to address our budget issues that we're facing. The second is to improve the permitting process for businesses operating in the city, and thirdly, to take advantage of the burgeoning solar and tech industries that we have in here, and to be able as a city to incubate those with vacant space. The city has a lot of vacant space that it holds, and we can incubate businesses there. Thank you very much.
Okay. So that was everybody, right?
Yep.
Okay,
You got
good.
us all.
Make sure. The next question will go first to Ms. King, then to Mr. Blackburn, Mr. Park, and Mr. Guillen. What would you do to prevent longtime Oakland residents from being displaced in the face of rising housing costs in our city?
That's an excellent question, and it's a concern to the entire city. As Kevin mentioned, District 2 is really the heart and soul of the city, and I mentioned that my neighbors come from all over, and the majority of them are renters, and my concern is that they're going to be pushed out. So I believe that development doesn't have to mean displacement. We have to work on finding sources of revenue for workforce housing and affordable housing. This city has taken on the task of being home to 52% of all the affordable housing in Alameda County. I would like to see some of our neighboring partners take some of that on as well. But redevelopment money is gone. There are ways of finding different sources of money. There are tax credits for development for affordable housing. There is money, federal money for transportation-oriented development. We have to work collectively on behalf of the people who work very hard in this city. If you make $12.78 an hour, you've got to work 71 hours to afford an apartment that costs a little over $1,000 a month. We have a lot of work to do.
Mr. Blackburn.
Thank you very much. The issue with displacement in Oakland is a simple matter of supply and demand. We have too few housing users. As I mentioned in my previous answer, 92 units, market rate units came online during 2014. That is not enough to meet the supply or the demand that is coming from San Francisco. Primarily, people are seeking Oakland, not only when they come here and find that the real estate prices are a little lower, but that in fact there is a great city here with great culture and great life, and they want to stay and they get excited. So we need to build more housing in order to address the displacement, and there are a lot of ways that we can accomplish that. But in the housing mix, we have to have senior housing, we have to have workforce housing, we have to have affordable housing, and we have to have, to some degree, some supportive housing in order to address the needs of the entire city. And not just market rate, but market rate is the key that will allow us as a city to address our budgetary concerns.
Mr. Park?
I would address displacement by valuing what is here and not just what's coming in. When you value what's here, you take the time and the effort to actually work for people so that they won't get kicked out of their apartments. What I mean there is that you can connect people to existing policies. When you connect people to existing policies, then they learn. They may have a language difficulty, barriers. They may have not been able to read their leases. And when you go through that with people, connect them with nonprofit and the city rent board, other resources that the city has, so that they can be able to not be kicked out of their apartments unfairly. Secondly, when you work with people and value what's here, you start to understand a felt need is that people can't afford to live here because they don't have upwardly mobile jobs. As I mentioned before, we have a workforce, but that workforce is not being connected to where the jobs are, and we need to develop that workforce. There's workforce housing, but what I'm saying is there's programs in this city that are highly effective in placing people, retaining people, and getting them on to the next step, and those are things I would support.
Thank you for the question. I think it's a multifaceted approach that we need to take. Number one is we do need to increase the housing supply, particularly for our most vulnerable populations here in Oakland, low income, mid-income, as well as workforce housing. Those are all things that we need, particularly on transit-oriented corridors. We need to make sure that residents know their rights of the laws that are in place. We need to make sure that residents know that what an illegal increase in their rent looks like, for example. Unfortunately, city staff is hampered in this area because they don't really have the resources out there to go provide that information to the residents. As a city council member, I will make sure that we try to increase the number of housing staff that can go out there and actually inspect the apartments and make sure that they're renting out homes that are actually livable and that aren't a nuisance. And we would make the demand on the landlords to make sure that they make those improvements. That's a three-pronged strategy that I would approach to make sure that we stop displacement in Oakland.
Thank you all. This next question will go first to Mr. Park, then to Mr. Blackburn, then to Mr. Guillen, and finally to Ms. King. The city streets are full of potholes. The infrastructure is falling apart. What will you do to improve this situation?
I think that, first of all, I would survey what other cities are doing who are in the same position that Oakland is. I don't think that our situation is unique. There's been a downturn all across the country, especially in the state of California. Roads are just in disarray. And, the pothole blitz that we've had has been one of those solutions where, in a matter of 6 weeks, we take care of 80% of the potholes. I know we're just filling them rather than actually scraping and doing it properly, but at least that's avoiding some of the major tire blowouts that I've actually experienced on several roads. I think that the other thing that we can do is to increase our sales tax base, to be selfish about where we shop, to build thriving business districts. As we're doing that, we increase our city budget. Also, the real estate transfer taxes. As we have one-time income, we put that money away for future infrastructure projects as a rainy day fund.
City of Oakland spent $225,000 in 2002, or $250,000 for a report on how to get our finances in order. All of the issues that we're discussing are budget-related issues, and frankly, the city has not been responsible with managing the budget resources that we have. And so decisions have been made to kick the can down the road, to put off funding unfunded pension obligations, to turn our repaving schedule into an 85-year cycle on a citywide basis. And the solution to the problems in Oakland, and I may sound like a broken record, but they are economic development. It is crucial that we build more housing, that we become more business friendly, and that we create a fertile environment to grow tech companies, because 5 years ago, Twitter did not exist. And today, it's responsible for revitalizing the entire mid-market area in San Francisco. Well, we have a Twitter right here in Oakland that we don't know yet, and those are the businesses that we need to incubate in order to address our budgetary woes.
Mr. Guillen.
Let's be honest, the last 30 years, our government, our federal government in particular, has neglected our infrastructure needs, not only in Oakland, but in California and the United States. And that money has been diverted to wars and other causes. What I would do here locally is to, one, make sure Measure BB passes. That's on the November ballot. We need to make sure that that's available. That's going to provide direct resources to the city of Oakland. Two, I would also make sure that as we get one-time funds, that we set those funds aside to make sure that we fill those potholes. There's some potholes where your car can fit in, and I don't know about you, but how many of you have gotten your tires blown or your fenders messed up because of the lack of services and infrastructure? That would be a priority of mine if I were to get elected on the city council.
Thank you. So our city streets are on an 85-year paving schedule, and regular asphalt streets last maybe 12 years, 15, 18 if they're babied. So Measure BB, as Abel said, is on the ballot, and it's a half-cent sales tax, and it would go to many things, transportation as well as infrastructure for our streets. And I think if we do pass that, it would be a wonderful thing that we look at best practices in terms of what kind of products are out there that other cities, other countries use in terms of resurfacing streets. And, because it costs anywhere from 50 cents to $1 per square foot to repave a street. It's very expensive, but it speaks to the quality of life issues that we face in a city. And if our roads are bad, if our lights are dim, if we have tagging and dumping that's abundant in our communities, it makes us look like a city that doesn't take care of its people, and that has to change.
Thank you. Okay, the next question will go first to Mr. Blackburn, and then we'll go down the row that direction. How will you improve communication and teamwork between city council members? Communication and teamwork.
So in my professional life as a housing policy advisor with the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco, I work with very diverse groups. Bankers, housing developers on the one hand, civil rights organizations, and affordable housing advocates on the other. And when you're able to sit down at the table and treat each other respectfully and agree on what you can agree on, the way that you do that is by communication, and one way that we accomplish that is by spending time together and developing personal relationships. It requires being respectful, it requires being a good listener, and it requires your desire to see the city's needs served as a member of the council and not your personal agenda. And oftentimes that means that you may have to sacrifice issues in your district for the greater good of the entire city. And so I think that it begins with respect and communication. Thank you.
Without vision, people perish. Without vision as far as what direction we're going as a city, then there can be so much division and infighting that happens. Remembering of wrongs, this record keeping of, well, last time I tried to pass this or do something in my district, you didn't support it. And that happens naturally if we don't have an overarching vision, direction, determination, unity, focus, bridge builders. That's who I am. That's who I've been in my community, in bringing the police and neighbors together, and bringing neighbors and neighbors who speak different languages. You should see some of our events at Bella Vista Park, San Antonio Park, Manzanita. We have people from all over, and you have someone who doesn't speak English, someone who's been here for years, and they just point to their children. After 5 or 6 years, they've become friends in that way as they're raising their children together in the same community. On city council, I would build those relationships to build consensus so that if we have a vision as far as the direction we're taking the city, we can have true consensus where people don't get everything they want, but they walk away with what they can live with.
Many people think that broadcast journalists talk for a living, but really what we do is we listen for a living. And during my 25 years as a journalist, I was the shop steward of my union, head of collective bargaining, and second vice president of the union. And the way that I worked was that I didn't just sit across the table from management, but I invited our members to sit across the table from management, because it was important during, especially our last very contentious union contract that ended up being an industry standard contract, that the members hear what management had to say and what they felt was at stake from their side, as well as management hearing what we thought was important and needed to move. But if we start with what we agree on, it's easier to build consensus than if we start with what we disagree on. And so what I would like to offer as a former communicator are those skills as a facilitator and bringing people to the table, all stakeholders who are invested in whatever the issue is at hand.
I had the distinction of being the youngest person elected to the Board of Trustees at Peralta. I'm not so young anymore. During that time, I've learned a lot. And my experiences there have taught me what it takes to build a team. When I first got on the board, our meetings just go 4, 5, 6 hours. And during my tenure there, I got elected board president, was able to get our board meetings down to about 2.5 hours. Rarely are our votes divided. Most of the time our votes were on the same page. Last night we passed a $228 million budget unanimously by the board, and those are not easy things. For the last 8 years, or for the last 4 of my 8 years on the board, I've been an officer at Peralta because I've been able to work together with folks from different stripes, bring them together, work on issues that matter most, and to deliver for our students. That's the skill set that I bring to the table, and that's what I'm going to bring to City Hall.
So this next question will go to Mr. Guillen first and then come back this direction. What are your views on using video cameras in high-crime neighborhoods? And can you comment on the organization in some neighborhoods to provide their own security?
I think it's a shame that folks feel like they need to hire their own security guards and they're paying out of pocket to feel that they're getting the protection. What I would like to see is a uniform strategy across the city so that all neighborhoods have equal level of protection and that all neighborhoods get response calls. Cameras do not work, in my opinion. Cameras actually move crime down the street. We saw a study from one of my professors at the Goldman School of Public Policy that says that cameras, what they do is they move crime down the block or where there aren't any cameras. So I don't think that's an effective strategy. What we need are police on the streets actually building relationships with neighbors and community members.
So I mentioned I lived in the San Antonio district, and I have a 100-foot wall, and this morning I had to paint out about 30 feet of graffiti, and it was gang graffiti, and I took it off as soon as possible. My neighbors keep saying to me, you know, Dana, if you had cameras, they wouldn't do that, and I'd like to think that, I don't know that that's true because I just don't think that's possible, but I think that what is at stake here is what kind of information is being used when there are cameras. Who is retaining that information? What are they doing with it? And that goes back to a policy of communication and processing information and making it available for everyone to understand and have a voice in. So I don't know that cameras work, but I do believe that the cat is out of the bag on that, because many property owners, both business and residential, believe that that's how they need to secure their property. It's a conversation that we need to continue to have.
When I served on the Community Development Block Grant, which is federal HUD money, it's actually in the low 100,000s now. We're divesting of our communities, unfortunately. But when I served on that several years ago, we supported an area, business district in Oakland, Chinatown, with video cameras. But those video cameras never proved to actually, deter crime, lower crime. In fact, now the maintenance of those cameras is not happening. And I know the school district is also, with some of the not so good things happening around schools, are also considering video cameras. And I don't believe that video cameras, because we can't maintain them, the technology and the maintenance and the oversight that needs to go into that, who's going to watch all this video, it just is not effective. But I also believe that citizens and residents of Oakland need to do what they need to do to feel safe and to protect themselves. But I hope that we can get to a place where we build trust between the community and the police to be able to support more police officers through community policing, where citizens get involved in order to, feel safe.
So video cameras, I think, can be a deterrent, and there are some best practice examples that we have here in Oakland, in District 4 in particular. There are a couple of neighborhoods that have gotten together and purchased at reasonable cost video cameras that are able to capture license plates at night. That was responsible for capturing some folks who had come into District 4 and actually broke into home invasion robbery, and they were able to apprehend them as a result of that information. It goes to the internet, so it's available for all of the neighbors who are part of the NCPC in that neighborhood to access. I think that it's important that we establish appropriate policies, but the issue is, in my opinion, is there are too few cameras versus not enough, because they do move from block to block, and those studies are in fact correct, and that is what has happened in Chinatown. The cameras there have pushed the activity into areas where there are not cameras. Thank you.
Okay. This next question will go first to Ms. King, then to Mr. Guillen, then Mr. Blackburn, and Mr. Park. How can you increase public awareness of issues, and how do you plan to keep in touch with your constituents?
Public awareness with the constituents is vital. Communication is key. People, when they feel like they have access to information, and they also feel like they can be heard, it's a circle. I think the best way, now that we have technology on our side, is through communication, newsletters, and such. But also, I intend to continue to walk the district, and also to have town hall meetings on a quarterly basis. What I've learned from knocking on doors is that people will share with me their challenges and their hopes for the city, and areas where they feel that the city is not doing a good job. So it's direct communication. This is a job that's 24/7. It's about the people of the district, and I intend to do this job full-time and be there available for the residents of the district, not just the voters, but everyone, on a daily basis.
I think during my tenure as a trustee, I've been very accessible and open to the students. I hold regular community office hours. I hold workshops in the community on FAFSAs and how to apply for financial aid. And I'm out there. I do regular newsletters that I provide to the community. And as a city council member, I think one of my priorities is to make sure that the city actually provides and enforces the equal access ordinance that's supposed to make sure that language services are provided across the spectrum. We need to do a better job of that. You can't just communicate in one language as a city and expect people to show up for meetings. And you wonder why people aren't coming to the meetings. You actually need to go door to door, face to face, talk to neighbors, invite them to come, and tell them why it's important that their voice be heard. Right now, a lot of people that I'm talking to out there don't feel like they have a voice in city council, and that's why I'm running for city council, to make sure that we bring the community into this building.
Mr. Blackburn.
Oh, thank you.
I think.
Is it me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So as a city council representative for District 2, I would ensure that I was accessible to keep the public aware by developing a comprehensive email list. We had 5,300 young people working in the summer job program this summer, and I would be willing to allocate some of those through district resources to be able to get a comprehensive list, working with the NCPCs, of neighborhoods, so that we could communicate to them in appropriate languages via email, that we could have tele-town halls to take advantage of technology in appropriate languages again, and then monthly town halls by neighborhood. I think it's, we have neighborhoods within the district, about 8 neighborhoods within the district. It's important to reach out to them individually because each of them have their own unique and distinct challenges. And then finally, I think it's critically important that, as we all have learned, spending time talking to people on an individual basis yields tremendous results and information.
Mr. Park.
Increasing public awareness of issues is who I am, what I do. I've been here, I've been doing this, I've been in neighborhoods. I'm an organizer. This is one of the main reasons why I'm stepping up to be a candidate for city council, is to get more people involved. As many of you know, how hard it is to organize people, to get people to come out to a neighborhood crime prevention council meeting. You know that the times when the attendance spikes is when there's a lot of crime. I know that if we've had over 30 robberies in our neighborhood that month, and it's a really bad number in our neighborhood, I don't know about yours, I know there's going to be a lot of people. But to build a sustained, long-term awareness and involvement by residents of Oakland, we don't build around struggles and fears. I've learned through 15 years of organizing that you build around hopes and dreams. You build around community events, community development, and that's the reason why what I would support is, let me ask you a question. What do you think is the best night for Oaklanders all the way around? What night is that in our city? It's not New Year's, it's not Christmas, not Hanukkah, it's National Night Out. I would increase that to once a quarter, then once a month.
Thank you. This last question before the closing statements will go first to Mr. Park, then to Mr. Guillen, Mr. Blackburn, and Ms. King. What experience do you have that equips you to deal with Oakland's ongoing financial problems? What would you do to address the looming problem of unfunded
Pension obligations?
pensions? It'd be unfunded pensions, yes. Yeah. So, Mr. Park.
I think the unique skill set that I bring is having 15 years of budget management experience at UC Berkeley. I understand the difference in funds. I understand how to read ledgers, balance sheets. I understand how you could present a budget and not really have people understand the numbers because of how you're presenting it on that 1 to 2 page document. So I think what the steps that I would take to make sure we get on top of our budget is, first of all, transparency, supporting movements such as Open Oakland, but with that, we need to be able to drill down further to be able to see line items, what is being spent on, where, because the devil is in the details. After the transparency, we need to have understanding, independent evaluation of those transparent open books. People like the Urban Strategies Council and other independent think tank groups who can be able to say what the status of our budget is. Then we have to move forward in shared sacrifice, understanding that we can't kill the goose that's laying the eggs, so we need to all move forward, bring all parties together in a collective bargaining table so that we don't go back on past promises, but yet we move forward in shared sacrifice.
Mr. Guillen.
I think that what we need to do is really engage our citizens in that discussion. The City Council adopts a budget every 2 years, and that's the opportunity for the community to weigh in and say, this is what our priorities are. One of the things that I would make sure of is that I would look through for example, I'll give you an example right off the back. The city was going to pursue a TRAN, that's called the Peralta Colleges was going to pursue a tax revenue anticipation note, which is essentially a borrowing. There's no reason to do that this year, and that's one of the things I put a stop to at Peralta College. Making sure we didn't do that saved over $100,000 in cost for the district, and that's the type of leadership that we need in City Hall. In terms of unfunded pension liabilities, for every $1 that we spend down in principal, we get a savings of $3 in return. So whatever funding that we have available that becomes available through rainy day funds or increase in real estate transfer tax, I would make sure we apply that funding to that debt.
Mr. Blackburn.
So in order to address our unfunded pension obligations, we really don't know where we are right now. We have a midterm budget review that's coming up in the next month. But the first thing I would say is, with regard to unanticipated revenues, a policy needs to be in place that determines how those funds are allocated before they come in the door and what percentage of every dollar that comes in goes to the unfunded pension obligation. I have run a $9 million division of a publicly traded telecommunications company here in Northern California. I've been a small business owner for 12 years. I understand how to read a balance sheet. I chair a National Historic Landmark, an organization that operates National Historic Landmark in Mendocino County, and I serve on the board of Alternative Family Services, a $7 million organization, and I'm currently on the board of Tabernacle Community Development Corporation, and we have over $100 million in affordable housing projects under construction now in San Francisco. So I understand how to read a balance sheet.
Okay, Ms. King.
I too understand how to read a balance sheet. I'm a trustee for the Oakland Museum. I have been on various boards as the governance and leadership chair. I'm a student of what happened to Detroit. The Detroit Free Press did an amazing article looking at the bankruptcy of Detroit. They started a bankruptcy, went back 50 years, and when the city had money, it gave it away, it made everybody happy. When the city didn't have money, it borrowed against its debt. And depending upon who you talk to and you look at our structural liabilities, this is a city that's in debt to the tune of $1 billion to possibly $2 billion. And that's not something that we talk about on a regular basis. So in looking at it, Moody's has dropped the city's credit rating 2 levels because of the unfunded liabilities. Now, what we've done in the past, we have to honor. The relationships and the deals we've made at the collective bargaining table are done. How we move forward is the decision that the next city council will make. And I intend to be one of those people who strongly suggest that we build a rainy day fund and we start to pay down our debt immediately.
So now it's time for closing statements. The candidates have 1 minute each, and we'll start with Mr. Blackburn.
Thank you all again for tonight, and I appreciate the viewers at home. I have served this community in a variety of ways over my adult life as a baseball coach, as a director of nonprofit boards, as a businessman paying taxes in the community. And I think that Oakland can do better than it has been doing. I think we need an independent voice at City Hall that is not that reflects the interests of the entire city. And I think that the years of experience that I have serving the community, being a business person, serving the nonprofit world as a director, can help to ensure that as Oakland gets better and grows and improves, that we can make it better for everyone. So I would encourage you to vote for Kevin Blackburn for Oakland City Council District 2, and I thank you for listening to us, and I thank the audience for being here and paying attention to us tonight. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Park.
I too would like to thank you for being here. Thank you so much for giving us your attention. Again, my name is Andrew Park, and I'm a District 2 City Council candidate. The unique strength that I bring as a candidate is that I think more than anyone, is grounded and connected to the community as they come. So I understand the value of empowering communities and people in neighborhoods to be involved and to take action. And by empowering communities, I don't mean that they're free to do whatever they want to do, but within the context of where we want to go as a city. Safe streets, thriving business districts, opportunities for youth, healthy neighborhoods. I have a demonstrated track record of getting this done in communities, working with community policing, engaging the hard to employ, the hard to engage. So I encourage you to vote for Andrew Park for City Council in November. Thank you.
My name is Dana King, and I would like your vote as well. I believe the job of City Council is one of fairness, objectivity, and common sense. I've spent 25 years as a broadcast journalist. I'm able to make decisions on a deadline. News is not a static environment, and I'm able to be adaptable and quickly change to circumstances. I think this job is about the people of Oakland. I'm not afraid to make difficult decisions. I will be a city council member who is not beholden to anyone or anything. I'm an independent thinker. I'm pragmatic. I intend to seek out stakeholders and advisors to balance out all sides of an argument. I'm decisive and direct, and my word is my bond. I love this city, and I believe this is a city worth fighting for, and I would like to be the person standing in that space, being the fighter for District 2 and the residents of Oakland. Thank you.
I first started as a tutor at Lowell Middle School almost 20 years ago, and my love for the city has grown, and I want to serve the city. I want to continue to serve the city. My name is Abel Guillen, and I'm running for District Council seat number 2, and I would appreciate your support because we have some great candidates up here, but I'm the only candidate that actually has the experience of working on a deliberate governing body that has passed 8 budgets in a row. We've had to make tough decisions to protect the safeguard and protect our educational outcomes for our students. And I built a great coalition of supporters inside of District 2 and throughout the city. I ask that you vote with, you give me one of your votes, if not your first vote, your second place vote, and you join us in making sure we bring back Oakland and put our community first. Thank you very much.
So thank you all for taking part this evening to meet the candidates and for asking the questions that indicate the interest you have in the election process. For further information about the forums and the candidates, please visit the League's award-winning website, smartvoter.org. There you will find descriptive information and links to other sources. Members of the League of Women Voters do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse candidates, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong. To join us, visit our website, lwvoakland.org. Thank you all.